Good morning, everyone. I'm Bobby Eubank. I'm an equity research analyst here at Chevy Chase Trust. One area which we found particularly interesting and spent a lot of time over the last several months is researching how automation technologies can upend the retail industry. These technologies are what we call next-generation automation. The market opportunity is huge, and we're interested in finding new investment ideas. The US consumer spends $13 trillion annually. That's 70% of the entire US economy. First, let me give you some background. Automation isn't new. It's been happening for hundreds of years. At the time of the first industrial revolution, the early 1800s, 70% of the workforce was in agriculture. Corn production per acre has increased 5-fold since then. That's just one example of how technology and automation has improved food productivity and lowered costs. One thing that hasn't changed over the last 200 years, humans still don't eat more than 3 square meals a day. In particular, service industries have grown from 20% of the labor force to over 75% today. Compared to the decline in farmers and the rise in service workers, manufacturing has remained at roughly 20 to 30% of the workforce. But that's just part of the story. The prior graph tells just about the shifting workforce. What's common to all 3 sectors, manufacturing most of all, is a tremendous and steady improvement in productivity. It's really quite remarkable. Productivity has increased 4.5 times in the last 70 years. This combination of an exploding service sector and improving productivity has given rise to a consumer-driven economy. The consumer-driven economy is dominated by the retail industry. Over the last couple months, we've talked to several major sports apparel companies. What's amazing is that they're placing orders for their goods from manufacturers in Asia over a year in advance. In many cases, there are multiple factories for each product. A shirt might have a button factory, a weaving and dyeing plant, a cutting and stitching plant, and each process may have its own inventory storage, and goods will need to be transported from one facility to the next. The product then travels through a complex network of planes, trains, automobiles, ships, and warehouses before finally hitting store shelves a full year later. This model is full of inefficiencies. Later, you'll see a new model for the retail supply chain. Today, I'm going to talk about 3 areas of change within the retail industry. I chose these 3 because they're important to radically improving the retail landscape, and we believe each is a source of promising new investments. The first is automated warehouses. The second is last mile production and delivery. And the third is new store formats. First, let's talk about automated warehouses. At an Amazon fulfillment center, where the lighting is a little better, a human picker walks 12 miles a day pushing a cart, finding items, grabbing them off of shelves, and bringing them back to a packaging station. That's changing. In a modern warehouse, there are miles of conveyor belts, shuttle systems that move packages as fast as Usain Bolt, mobile robots that bring entire shelves to packagers, like seen in this photo, cameras that read 80 barcodes per second, and robots that lift entire pallets onto trucks. These systems retrieve goods 5 times faster, with aisles that are 4 times narrower and shelves that are up to 5 times higher. These new facilities process packages in 13 minutes, compared to an hour and a half, while reducing operating costs by 20%. In the last 2 years, Amazon has tripled its use of robots to over 100,000. The second topic I want to talk about is the concept of near-urban manufacturing and delivery. Last year, Kevin Plank, the founder of Under Armour, opened a facility in downtown Baltimore to experiment with automating the production of custom shoes and apparel. Nike and Adidas have also announced plans to use 3D printing and robotics to produce footwear or apparel here in the US. Amazon was recently granted a patent for equipment that uses a customer's measurements to make customized clothes right in their fulfillment centers. Just last week, they purchased a company that makes highly accurate 3D models of your body, which would complement this strategy. Zoom Pizza in San Francisco is using robots to spread sauce onto a pizza and lift the pizza into and out of the oven, as you can see in this photo. A human still puts the toppings on, but a smart camera verifies that the toppings match your order. In addition to local production, warehouses are being located closer to urban customers. You'll hear from one of those warehouse owners later today. The average Amazon fulfillment center is 60% closer to the consumer than it was a decade ago, and yet is still more than 100 miles away. A study showed that transportation is almost half of supply chain costs, while rent makes up only 5%. Locating a distribution center 10 miles away from the consumer instead of 100 miles away reduces transportation costs by 2/3. This is before self-driving vehicles and drones, which would significantly reduce carbon emissions and costs while cutting delivery times down to 18 minutes from 80 minutes using a truck. McKinsey projects that 80% of package deliveries will happen autonomously by 2025. The third topic I want to talk to you about is new store formats. A lot of the change in store formats is being driven by pressures from e-commerce. E-commerce penetration is now above 13% and will likely double or even triple over the next decade. Because of the high fixed costs of physical stores, fewer sales made in-store means their relative efficiency will only get wider without a rethink of retail square footage. So far in 2017, we've seen over 20 major retail bankruptcies and thousands of store closures, the latest being Toys R Us. These figures rival the Great Financial Crisis. Retail square footage under construction was down 20% last year, and we expect to see a contraction in retail space equivalent to 12,000 football fields. The future of the retail supply chain is more local production, more e-commerce, faster delivery, less cluttered stores, and better customer service.